Hi everyone, Simon here with a review of the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games official video game. This is the PS4 version you see on your screens, and I picked this up in the Hong Kong store in the PSN summer sale where it's 50% off. The game is coming west later on this year, and it will also be available on Xbox One, PC and Nintendo Switch. It is a separate game to the mobile version. There are two completely different types of games, so just remember this is console version only that we're talking about. I don't do mobile gaming. The game itself has 20 different events, and it's taken a slightly different approach compared to a lot of previous Olympic Games events before. A lot of those are normally very heavily track and field focused, and whilst there are some track and field elements here in the Tokyo 2020 game, it's much more based around team sports, so to speak, and simplified versions of them. So alongside your 100 metres and your hurdles, you've also got some like javelin throwing. You've also then got some stuff in a swimming pool. Outside of that, you've then got football, beach volleyball, baseball, basketball, boxing, tennis and table tennis, and rugby. Just randomly thrown in there. And initially that kind of put me off the game because I was like, no, I want to be button mashing and going nuts. Because one of my favourite ever Olympic game style games is a game on the PS2 called Summer Olympics, where it had like 35 events, but it was like 100, 200, 400, 800 metres, 1500 metres, and they done like slightly different control schemes for everything else. I feel like the Tokyo 2020 games has kind of let itself down in that respect, because if you're going to render an arena and you've got the 4x100 metres relay, you might as well do the 200 and the 400 and just slightly change the control scheme so that they feel like different events, and it exponentially adds more variety to your game for little extra dev time, in my opinion anyway. So yeah, I feel like it shoots itself in the foot a little bit there, but what Tokyo 2020 does do is go for accessibility and ease of pick up and play over everything else. The game is structured so that you pick your own country and then you can develop up to 20 different athletes for your country. Each one can be kind of selected and built either from a randomization or by doing custom face and body shape, which I loved. I just made all of Team GB fat, just like me. So apologies for the amount of fat people that you're going to see in this video review. I couldn't help myself. But there is a skinny and there is a muscular version. You can then take it into kind of a party mode by adding on like silly hats, like jester hats and stuff like that. And you unlock those by competing and completing events and scoring like XP points that you can then spend in the shop to basically unlock more costumes, more extras. The other thing that you can do is unlock different abilities for your characters as well. So characters will either be a power character, a speed character, or a technique character, and you can basically buy loadouts for these and move them around and then select your specific characters to take part in certain events. Now, you don't need to dive into this, but it does give you slight advantages if you do, especially when you start to take your team online against other people in the either random lobbies or the official events, where every couple of hours the event switches and everyone just plays the same event over again. That all works quite nicely. You can ignore it if you want to and just dive straight into the Olympic Games and or just playing with practice as well. You can take 1 to 4 players locally. You can do the same online. I've got it in my head that you can go up to 6 players online, but Pretender said 4 for now until I verify that. The games, though, are played out in a very simplistic style. So very pleased that there's button mashing for the 100 metres. I really liked the fact that when it went into the swimming, it was actually about timing of events with the trigger buttons. So that you had to hit things at the right time, and then like little flurries of button mashing. It just adds to the gameplay of that. The Bmx Racing was interesting because that was all about building momentum off of ramps and timing things there. Same with the hurdles as well, by pressing forward at certain times to jump over hurdles so you didn't stack it. Where the game then becomes extremely accessible is with the team events. So football is reduced to being moving around a pass button, a shoot button, and a tackle button, depending on whether you've got the ball or not got the ball. And it is very simplistic. Similarly, baseball almost plays itself because you aren't necessarily hitting the ball and like going and running after the ball. What happens is that you as the pitcher kind of chooses the type of shot that you're going to do and then moves around a grid to try and stop the person being able to hit it with the bat, and the batter basically has to try and chase you and catch up with you around the grid so that you match and then can hit the ball and hit it off and hopefully score a home run if you can. It feels very hit and miss though, and very luck based depending on what you do. Basketball, I was going to say basketball then. Basketball plays closer to an NBA Jam game than it has any right to, and is actually quite good fun because it's really fast paced and feels full on arcade mode, again down to simplistic buttons of just pass and shoot and move around. Boxing has a couple of different buttons that you can do to try and do different punches, and then like a fast speed tap to try and get yourself back up if you've been knocked down. And tennis, very much the same, just moving into position, and that one's about pressing and holding a button so that the longer you can hold it if you get into position, it means that you can then whack it back much faster, and so it just becomes a back and forth trying to see if you can press and hold the button and spank the ball back as fast as you can. Some games do naturally gravitate you more to be better and more replayable than others. A couple of them feel a little bit clunky, particularly the beach volleyball one. I found to be, it never really got into a rhythm because sets go over far too quickly, unlike say the tennis and the table tennis where you can be whacking stuff back and forth for quite a long time and getting some real momentum into the flow of gameplay. The other one that kind of took me a while to get used to was the sport climbing one, which I now actually quite enjoy, but it was about getting the momentum of diving up a wall by pressing X and then moving the left analog stick into the right direction. It just took a while to kind of get used to that type of control scheme, I guess is the best way to say it. Outside of that, you can basically make custom playlists for certain types of events and then take those online and then bring along some friends if they're not alongside you, and then you can all play together around custom, what they call medleys, but it's like playlists of events. You can go through the Olympic Games and do the whole lot back to back if you like. I wish that there was a little bit more in terms of leaderboard challenges and stuff like that, but it's all done in terms of live events. So the idea would be is that like between 6 and 9 in the morning, maybe boxing is an event, and you can all dive in and bring along your best boxer and see how you do and how many people you win against. They also have special events running as well, where certain AI special people come along with extra hard difficulty for you to then try and beat. Talking of the difficulty, one of the last points that I'll bring up is around how vast the difficulty challenge is on Tokyo 2020 when you're playing against the AI. As you play the game, it starts to unlock more and more tips. So there's like nuances to things, like it doesn't tell you that you can dip for the line when you're doing like the 100 meters and the hurdles and stuff like that. But if you play the game 4 or 5 times, it will then unlock the tip that tells you that that's a thing. So then you're like, okay. And then it's about timing of events so that you can press and hold stuff until your character glows, and then you can blast out the block for an extra push at the beginning. That's all well and good. You need to know all of that and execute it perfectly when you're going against anything that is above the medium difficulty level. And it's because it will go from people running the 100 meters in 15 seconds and you can just like button mash X very slowly and still beat them. Then the next difficulty up, when you like get to the final, they're all doing it in 8 seconds flat, and I was like, how? And that's where all of that, like putting forward your speed character, ensuring you've got all of the tips all come together. So there is a bit of a single player challenge there if you want to. It's weirdly structured though, so just bear that in mind when you're going to go and play it. The other thing that I would probably mention, and the last thing about it, because you've seen it all the way through, is the graphics. I think they will be highly divisive because they remind me of really glossy Mii characters from the Mii and Wii universe on Nintendo's Wii and Wii U. I personally find it quite cute and quite fun. I can imagine that people might have wanted something a bit more realistic, particularly when you've got Sonic and Mario at the Olympic Games already kind of cornering that niche. But I think it does well for the job that it's got. And that plus the cringe but amazingly fantastic opening theme song, and the way how your character bursts into the menu, which just made me laugh no end because I made mine as fat as possible, kind of adds itself up to being a really good feel-good experience. This will be a really great game to bring out for parties when you've got people that don't necessarily game very often, but you will want to get together and do a 4-player experience. I could see this being an actual great time around the actual Tokyo 2021 Olympics when this comes along, because I think they'll be doing some good themed events around it as well. I hope they don't drop it beforehand and don't give any extra support. And if they were able to add a couple more little events, then this would be golden. Is it as good as the Beijing games on PS3? I'm not sure. They're very different takes on the same thing. It's not quite as good as my all-time favourite, the Summer Olympics on PS2, and Olympic Gold on the Sega Mega Drive always has a special place in my heart. But I've played way worse games on this, and it's, for me, it's better than the track and field games, which I've always felt have kind of got notoriety, but aren't necessarily the best examples of that genre. I hope that was informative. I will be doing a written review over on higherplayinggames.com at a later point. But until then, you guys will take care and happy racing. Bye for now. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a collection of media projects ran by me. If you like what you see and want to find out more, visit patreon.com/Higher Network. Your support can make so much more possible, be that a like, a comment, a share, or a pledge. Thanks for watching.